Hello, everyone. Very excited to be with you today. I guess, as I would like to say, I'm used to leading a global organization. And so I would say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you're joining us from today. I wanted to take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Emily Fauché, and I am part of Discover Global Networks. Global product organization. I'm a vice president of products. I've been there for about 9 years, and I am thrilled to be Discover's executive sponsor for Women in Product and really grateful for the opportunity to share some thoughts with our product organization today. When I was talking to some of our internal leaders about this conversation, we really reflected back on the theme this year, which is build what's next for you. And we were brainstorming around topics that I could talk about. And the thing that really resonated in the building what's next for you theme was about career. And so I wanted to share some thoughts about the most common conversation I have. For me, I usually have between, I would say, at minimum 3 to 5 development conversations, usually with young women product professionals looking for guidance, feedback, thoughts about what's next for them. And so I think that it's a really important, impactful conversation. For me, the way I really want to frame this entire conversation is about being intentional in building what's next for you in your career. And so the place I'm going to start this conversation is about my own career, because I also think it's good to share personal experiences. And so I am by background an English literature major. And so some days I sit back and think, well, how is it that an English literature major who spent her time in college thinking about British fiction actually became a product leader at a financial services organization? And the thing that I would share about that is careers are not linear. And sometimes the point of taking a role is actually to understand what we do and we don't like about roles and what we're interested in and become passionate about. I started out at a big oil company, BP. You guys are probably pretty familiar with it. And in big corporate environments, one of the lucky things that we have is the ability to try and experiment with different things. So I started out English literature major. Of course, I go and become a marketing analyst and look at data and numbers all day. I had the opportunity to try project management. I had the opportunity to experiment and learn about lean and got a really good understanding of what process was. And interestingly enough, at the time, BP was standing up a product management practice. It wasn't something at the time that was talked about a lot. It wasn't a kind of a track of education in school. But for me, it actually brought together all of the things that I'd been playing with in a way that I got to take an idea all the way through and bring it to market, which for me was an incredibly, I'd say, captivating experience, and something that I decided from that point on was what I wanted to do. And here we are, I'd say at least 10 years past that experience. I've been able to move industry from kind of the petroleum industry into financial services. And I've taken with me those product management skills and moved my career, kind of transferred industries, learned that new career. And I've had the opportunity at Discover to actually expand my span. And so, whereas BP, I experimented with different roles, at Discover, I really expanded responsibility, deepened my knowledge of payments, and took on different product domains. At different points in my career, I moved slow. I had 2 young children when I kind of ended my time at BP. And so I moved in at the time, I would say pretty unintentionally, but at a required slower pace. At Discover, I had the opportunity to put my foot on the gas pedal. And part of the reason people are talking to me a lot is I've actually moved 3 levels in about 3 years at Discover, which is a pretty unique experience. And so when women come to me to talk to me about how they build their careers, how they actually progress, there's a series of questions that I ask them to start a development conversation. And that's what I wanted to share with you today, is a framework for a conversation that I have with those female leaders. The first question I ask is if they understand and know what 3 roles they would want. A lot of times you get somebody coming, for me, it's into my office or over a coffee, and the starting point is actually a promotion or a change. But there is a bit of magical thinking that comes with that. And actually, the guidance I would give to all of you is the more specific you could be about what you want for your next role, what that build looks like, the more that the leaders in your organization, your mentors, your careers, your boss even can frankly help you get there. The second question that I ask is, why do you want those roles? Why are you specifically interested in those things? And for me, that really gets me to understand the motivation or the driver behind the person that's looking for that change. The first thing I would say is, if it's just getting promoted, we need to understand, I guess, kind of the readiness in the person's mind. We need to understand, do they have a foundation for delivery that they could build a story on? You need to understand what their brand and their perception is from the network and leaders within the organization. How well known are they? Is their brand known? Are their deliveries known? And they need to be able to articulate, I guess, the qualifications for which that the promotion would be deserved. And in many cases, if you can kind of pull together that story with the delivery plus the brand plus an intentional knowledge and understanding of what you're looking for, it can be a very effective conversation. But in many times, we come with an unformed thought about why we deserve promotion. The second reason understanding the why really matters is it might just be, I'm satisfied in my role, but I'm looking for a development opportunity or a change. But at the end of the day, unpacking what are the roles, what is the why that you are looking for this change, can be a really powerful starting point for a conversation. The third question that I ask is around, do you know the role that you want in 5 to 7 years? Why does this matter, right? A lot of people are looking to just get to that next step. And a lot of the conversations that we don't have is being very intentional about different career paths that may exist. So for me, early in my career, it was actually about experimentation. I wanted to try different things and get different experiences. And for me, it was like I like this, I don't like this is good, this really resonates with me. And so it was a little bit of a process of elimination that built me to the place I know. But you can also have a more intentional approach to that. You can start to figure out, do I want to go into an area of specialization? Or do I want to be a generalist? And you can also have some very important conversations about career pathing, the differences that come with being within the core of a business and being able to deliver versus the pros and cons that come from being in a specialized area that may not be there, but may be something that you're actually passionate about. And so the more that you can be articulate, you can talk about the pros and cons of different paths that you could take to pursue your career. For many of us sitting in this conversation, we may know that we're passionate product people. But the conversation that I have for many of my team members are, okay, so you're a product owner today. Do you want to be a product manager? How then does those two paths bridge together to potentially be a director or an officer within the product management space? Do you need space within multiple product domains to get the knowledge and understanding that you need to be able to move up? And then you can have the conversation around, okay, do you also need adjacent experience and potentially operations as an example to get that well-rounded point of view that you would be expected to have at senior leadership levels? And so in addition to understanding kind of those next set of opportunities, those next roles, having that, where do I want to go in 5 to 7 years conversation or thinking through it can actually be a very important exercise, because no career path is likely kind of that straight shot that you might expect based on the degree you get out of college. I'm sure there's some of you in that path, but for me, the path has been a little bit windy, and it's not always straightforward. There's times we intentionally choose to make a lateral move to get a different set of experience or knowledge that we need. The fourth question that I ask the people that I have these kind of building your career conversations with is really around, do you have a coach? Do you have a mentor? Do you have a sponsor? This is something that I didn't really understand or learn until I'd say the midpoint of my career. And I really started with the mentorship aspect of it. I was assigned a formal mentor in a program. And that experience was good. I got kind of a bit out of it, but it felt very transactional. And the thing that I learned is that there's differences between formal mentors that might be assigned in a program and actually an informal mentoring process, which is potentially when you connect with this senior leader that may, somebody more senior than you, that may, in many cases for me, it was somebody that looked like me. In the petroleum space, there were not a lot of women. Tech as well too, not a lot of women. So finding those people that either, for me, it was looked like me, or could be somebody I could see myself when I growed up. Having that person as a mentor that I connected with was actually really important, because I could go both for career advice as well as specific problems and challenges that I needed to solve with somebody that I related to. So I would really encourage you, whether it's a formal mentorship program or an informal ask to somebody that you trust, respect, and feel like you could build that relationship with, having a mentor is critically important. I also think extending mentorship into coaches. For some of us, coaches can be our boss. If you've got a good boss, having that coaching conversation to get meaningful, real-time, candid feedback is actually critically important to make us better. For many of us, our bosses may not be in the room with us. So who are those peers or business partners that are with us more frequently that can provide us that, what I would call, radically candid feedback about what our strengths and our opportunities are, so that we can not have those blind spots. Coaching can be critically important so that we can get better. And it has to be from people that we trust and respect and are willing to listen to. The final piece is sponsorship. What you want to find is people that will actually stand up for you, that they will represent for you, and they will advocate for your career. Critically important. The final two questions for me were the part that I actually struggled with the most. And so when I have these questions for people, I like to end with these two questions. The first question is, are you willing to do the work? A lot of times what comes up in these questions and these conversations is that there's more work for us to do. We have to make sure that we have the right deliveries in place. We have to work on our brand perception, our reputation, how we're known internally. For many of us, it might be around networking with critical stakeholders who would be involved in kind of those hiring decisions for the roles that we want, or doing the work to find the mentoring programs. So I like to say, are we willing to put in the work? And for many of us, it feels like self-promotion, which can feel very uncomfortable. We have to be willing to do the work to get to that next level. And finally, are we willing to take the risk? I know that there's all sorts of data out there for women about our willingness, to put our necks out there for careers that we might not feel as qualified. You want to have 8 out of 10 criteria met before you're willing to actually post for the role you're interested for. That risk-taking behavior, that willingness to stick your neck out there and apply for that role, to have the conversation, to express the intention that you want for your career, is really the last piece of this puzzle that brings it all together. I will share with you all that I almost didn't apply for the last role that I got because I was worried I was too new to my role, that I wasn't ready for it. And what a shame if I hadn't done it, because I wouldn't be sitting in the seat that I'm in right now. So the last piece of this puzzle for me is willing to take those intentional risks to get the roles that you're interested in at the end of the day. I want to end there. I hope that these thoughts and this process that I talk a lot of my coaches and mentors or mentees that I work with on a day-to-day basis has been helpful for you. And I would encourage all of you to be very intentional, thinking through those things that you want as you work to build your career. Thank you so much.